calm. You never really think about the history of a house before you move in. The walls, the floors, the shadows, they all seem empty, waiting for life. But sometimes those walls have memories, and sometimes they have secrets. In the quiet suburbs of Pennsylvania, in a neighborhood lined with maple trees and freshly mown lawns, a young family moved into a house that looked perfect on the surface. It was a two-story colonial, freshly painted, with a white picket fence, the kind of home that seemed to promise safety and happiness. The Smiths, David, his wife Lauren, and their two children, Emily, age 8, and Jacob, age 5, had bought the house just weeks before moving. Their excitement was palpable. This was the first home they could truly call theirs. But from the very first night, something felt off. David started documenting everything. He took videos of the strange noises. One night, a recording captured a soft, dragging sound in the hallway. He played it back. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the pipes. It sounded like someone or something was pacing back and forth, breathing heavily. The children began to speak in whispers that made the parents uneasy. Emily would say, "He watches me, Mom. He wants Jacob too." Jacob, being 5, sometimes laughed and played along, but Lauren noticed his sudden fear. He started avoiding the hallway, refused to go near the attic, and often stared at the walls like he could see something invisible. It wasn't just the children noticing. Lauren heard it too. At night, the sound of crying, muffled but heart-wrenching, came from behind the walls. Sometimes it was so clear she could swear someone was trapped inside. "We thought it was just our imagination," David said. But the kids, they were terrified, and that's not something you can ignore. As weeks passed, the atmosphere in the house grew oppressive. Friends who visited felt uneasy. The air seemed heavier, almost charged, like static before a storm. Doors slammed shut on their own. Lights flickered without explanation. Even the family dog refused to enter certain rooms, growling at empty corners. It all came to a terrifying head one Friday night. Emily and Jacob were asleep in their shared room. Lauren was downstairs folding laundry when she heard a scream that made her blood run cold. Not the usual scared yet playful screams of children. This was pure terror. She ran upstairs to find Emily's bed empty. Jacob was still there, wide-eyed, shaking, pointing toward the closet. "He took her. He's in the walls." Lauren's heart stopped. She called David. Within minutes, the house was searched from top to bottom. Every room, every closet, every nook of the house. But Emily was gone. No sign of forced entry, no footprints, no disturbance outside the house. She had simply vanished. Lauren recalls it in an interview later. "I thought I was just imagining it, but there were these sounds, tiny scratches, like fingernails on wood. At first, I told myself it was just the house settling. Old houses do that, right?" David, the father, was practical. He dismissed it as creaking floors, a loose shutter in the wind, were the kids dreaming. But Emily wasn't so easily convinced. On the first night, tucked into her bed, Emily whispered to her mother, "Mom, someone's in the walls. I can hear them moving." Lauren froze. A chill ran down her spine. She turned on the light, hugged her daughter, and told her it was just a bad dream, but Emily's wide eyes didn't lie. By the second week, the sounds became more frequent. Scratches in the night, whispers in empty rooms, footsteps pacing above them when no one was upstairs. The family began noticing small things. Toys moved slightly out of place, cupboard doors left open, little notes scribbled by the children that made no sense. Emily's drawings became darker, showing figures in walls, shadowy faces peeking through doors. The police were called. The report, officially documented, stated, "Child missing. No signs of abduction. No physical evidence of entry or exit. House inspected. No anomalies found." Neighbors reported nothing unusual. Cameras nearby showed nothing. But the Smiths knew the truth, or at least what the children had tried to tell them. Something inside the house had taken Emily. Something that lived behind walls, silent and watching. Over the next days, the Smiths discovered old blueprints in the attic, hidden spaces behind the walls, narrow crawlways, small gaps that could fit a child, spaces that had been sealed for decades. The house had once belonged to a recluse who was rumored to have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Stories of children hearing voices, scratching, and whispering in empty rooms were written in old newspaper clippings the Smiths found in the basement. The chilling realization: the house had a history, and the children had been trying to warn them. By now, Jacob's behavior was worsening. He spoke less, stared at walls for long periods, and sometimes whispered to himself, "She's still in there. I can hear her crying." Friends and relatives urged the family to leave, but David and Lauren were torn. Part of them wanted to flee immediately. Another part refused to abandon their home, or the hope that Emily might still be alive. Lauren, in her journals later, wrote, "I feel her presence sometimes, a shadow moving just beyond my vision. I hear the crying at night, and I swear it's Emily. She's trapped in there, somewhere, and we're powerless." This was only the beginning. The house that had seemed so perfect had revealed itself as a predator, and it wasn't done. The scratches became deeper, the whispers louder, and the fear more suffocating. David recorded another night of surveillance. The camera caught something that would haunt him forever: a shadow slipping behind the wall in the hallway. Not human, not fully visible, but undeniably alive. "I don't know how to explain it," he said, voice shaking in the interview. "We saw her, Emily. She was just gone, pulled into the walls. The house doesn't just have a history, it's alive in some way, and it wants children." Authorities remained skeptical. Experts in paranormal phenomena weren't called. The house was technically safe, but the Smiths had learned the hard way. Some houses have memories, some houses have secrets, and some houses take what they want. After Emily disappeared, the Smiths tried to make sense of what had happened. They called the police repeatedly, filed missing person reports, and even brought in private investigators. But every professional who entered the house left confused or unnerved. Nothing explained the child vanishing without a trace. No footprints, no forced entry, no outside interference. It was as if the house itself had swallowed her. Jacob, only 5, became the sole focus of Lauren and David's attention, but he had changed. Once a playful, curious boy, he now walked with his head down, avoiding rooms, whispering to walls, and refusing to sleep alone. He would point to walls and say, "She's crying. I hear her, Mom," Lauren explained, her voice trembling. And he wasn't pretending, you could see it in his eyes. He was terrified. At night, the house's activity increased. The sounds were no longer subtle. Scratches became thuds, whispers became urgent, and the crying grew louder. Sometimes Lauren could hear what sounded like small feet pacing inside the walls. One night, David set up motion sensor cameras throughout the house. The footage captured something that shook them both to the core. In the hallway outside Jacob's room, a shadowy figure appeared, moving unnaturally fast, slipping behind the wall in a way a human shouldn't be able to. The cameras didn't catch a person, it caught a distortion, something alive, yet not fully human, darting just beyond the wall. "We showed it to the police," David said in a later interview. "They called it a glitch, but we know what we saw." Days turned into weeks. Jacob started refusing to eat, refused to go outside, and sometimes spoke to someone who wasn't there. "You're next," he whispered one evening, tears rolling down his cheeks. Lauren and David were horrified. It was as if Emily's presence, or whatever had taken her, was reaching for him. The Smiths dug into the house's history. They discovered records dating back to the 1920s. A family that had lived there before had reported hearing children whispering in the walls, scratching and crying at night. 2 children had vanished, never to be found. Local newspapers chronicled unexplained disappearances tied to the house. A recluse had built the house's interior walls with narrow crawl spaces, almost like secret passageways, possibly for children or something else. Lauren found a diary hidden under loose floorboards in the attic. It belonged to a girl named Clara who lived in the house in the 1940s. The diary was disturbing. "They live in the walls. I see them sometimes, their eyes shining in the dark. I hear them crying, calling, scratching. Mother says it's just the wind, but I know better. They take what they want, and they want the children." The Smiths realized they weren't the first family to experience this horror. Something had haunted the house for decades, and Emily wasn't the first child to disappear. Jacob's behavior grew more erratic. At night, he would scream at the walls, sometimes clawing at them, insisting he could see Emily or hear her crying. Lauren tried to comfort him, but he would push her away, whispering urgently, "She's behind this wall. I can see her eyes." David considered moving immediately, but they had nowhere else to go. Friends offered temporary shelter, but Jacob refused to leave the house. It was as if some invisible force bound him there, tethered to Emily and the walls. Then came the first physical attack. One night, Lauren heard a thud from Jacob's room. She ran in to find him pressed against the wall, shaking violently, and scratches marred the wallpaper. It looked as if something had clawed at him, something that wasn't human. "It wasn't him," Lauren said. "I know my son. He wouldn't hurt himself like that. Something was in that room." David tried to rationalize. Could it be a deranged intruder? But the doors and windows were locked, alarms working. The scratches, the whispers, the shadows, they didn't make sense. One evening, the family attempted a séance, desperate for answers. They contacted a local historian who specialized in haunted houses. During the session, the historian insisted that the house was alive, built with intent, its walls forming channels for something that consumed children. During the ritual, the historian felt a presence behind the walls, cold and watching. He reportedly said, "It's not spirits, not exactly. This house, it's a predator. It feeds, it takes, and it protects itself." Jacob's health deteriorated. He lost weight, stopped speaking to anyone except Lauren and David, and spent hours tracing the walls with his fingers. He whispered a name in his sleep that no one had taught him, Clara. One night, Lauren awoke to find Jacob missing from his bed. The air was cold, unnaturally cold, and a faint dragging sound echoed from the hallway. She found him pressed against the wall near the attic staircase, staring blankly. "He wasn't moving," Lauren said. "His eyes, They weren't his. Something else was there, something that wanted him. David installed cameras again, hoping to catch evidence, but the footage became more disturbing. Shadows moved inside walls, sometimes separating from them, forming vague humanoid shapes before disappearing. The family saw scratches appear on walls in real time, as if the house itself was interacting with the cameras. The Smiths started documenting everything obsessively: recordings, notes, photos. The police remained skeptical. The media was wary of taking it seriously. But inside that house, the terror was undeniable. Emily was still missing, and now Jacob's life was in danger.